Hi, Nancy Spears with genconnectU, and I'm here in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And today we're going to be discussing linking global agendas through continuing education. And I have a powerful panel to help me talk about this because it's super important. It actually touches about 6 of the SDGs that are in conversation here in Davos this week. So I'd love to introduce, many of you probably already know, Shelley Zallis, who's CEO of the Female Quotient. Hi, Shelley. Thanks for joining.
So happy.
She'll be discussing equality and probably everything else around sustainability that touches that particular topic. Chris Jory, who is with the Leaders on Purpose, CEO and founder of Leaders on Purpose, and her partner, Dr. Tatiana Kosakova, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Leaders on Purpose. And they're doing dynamic work around research, consulting, and shifting the game for equality. So let's get started. So, we all know that 51% of the global population is women, and yet only 4% make up the C-suite. Let's talk about that. Shelley, what is your opinion, and how are we going to change it?
I think that change happens when you make a conscious decision to make change. And where the biggest problem is, we start 50-50 in the workplace. That is not the problem. A little bit lower in technology. The problem really is in middle management. I call it the messy middle. When women rise to that level, they have some challenges in life. Work-life balance issues, the need to be perfect, gaining more responsibility at work, more responsibility at home. What do? And they typically do one of 3 things. They either opt out of the workplace completely, or they leave to start their own company so that, like me, they can become a chief troublemaker and create the uncorporate rules and write the rules that make sense to be able to, quote unquote, do it all. Or they rise to leadership but have real significant challenges. So we're losing most of our best leaders to caregiving. And I don't think it's a women's issue, it's a caregiving issue. And caregiving is still predominantly women. And when we talk about men, it's not a male issue either. Gender equality is not a male issue or a female issue. It's a social and economic issue. And most leaders are men. So if we truly want to get beyond the 4% and get to, I don't even care if it's 50-50, I think there's a minimum of 30% threshold before you see a transformation in culture. If we want to push that number to at least 30%, it requires a conscious mindset. It requires rules in the workplace that will allow everyone to rise to the top and bring their best selves to the table. So that's what it'll take, rewriting the rules.
Fantastic. All good points. And I think the caregiving topic is really important because as it relates to continuing education, if a woman is home taking care of her children, but she knows that she needs to get that job, but she may not have the skill set, continuing education from her home environment is a solution. What are you finding about this, Chris, in terms of are women wanting more education and how are they pursuing it?
Yeah, I think, just really building off of what Shelley said, I think that it's that middle time that we really need that continuing education. We need flexibility. So in what we do is research organizations that are really at the forefront in different issues and sort of aggregate that. And one of the things on this topic, we just had a conversation with one of the CEOs of one of those organizations. And she was talking about how what they've done is really make 100% flexible work hours so that they can bring in women because they don't want to lose this great talent. And then as part of that also really committing to education. Continuing education is important for everybody now. We've never had such disruption in the workforce with globalization technology. So the days of just getting your MBA and that's it are long gone. So we all have to be continuing, but that's a particular opportunity for women as well.
So great point. So are we slipping because of that? Tatiana, you're a strategist and a specialist in research around topics for leaders. What are you seeing in terms of demand by companies for the workforce and equality in general?
Yes, building on every argument here would have been said, and also on the disruption of our times. There's the longing for a purpose-driven organization, for a change in our system, in our society, of our organizations. So learning what that means, bringing everyone into organizations to really show in the diverse solutions and the diverse customer needs, the diverse population that we have. It is just so inherently wrong to think that if we leave out 50% of our civilization, right, and we don't give everyone the same opportunity or safe space in an organization to fruitfully learn and be part of a bigger purpose of a new corporate or global corporate organization to add to society, but also being able to just sustain family and other needs, it is crucial. And we see that leaders are very conscious about that. So obviously, on the one hand, we have this huge demand for new skills and talent. And talent today knows where to put it, and female talent as well. However, on the other hand, we also see that the leaders really try to change the game as to what it means being a women leader and being more upfront about it, showing more really like an factivist, actually. I think we heard this today.
What is that called?
Factivism. So coming out of facts and showing, okay, it's just not enough if we say we are okay if we have now 10% more women. No, we also as women in leadership positions should monitor that. Or if we are in marketing, we have one of our CEOs from our CEO study. What they really try is also shifting the game of how we show the women in other situations, in life situations, to show that actually we are a very diverse group of humans in this world, and we need to represent this group in our organizations to find the best innovations and and learning, obviously, in these times where it's just massively needed that we need to learn how to rebuild and sustain also what we have not sustained that well so far. So women.
Great point.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
I think that if we truly want to attract the best talent and not just the available talent, because we know all these facts, there are some key vitals that are necessary to flip the script. One, it's shared responsibility at home. It needs to be parenting. If we want double income families, responsibility has to be shared at home. When you look at the Nordic countries, why is there 50-50? Why are they number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 year after year on gender equality? Universal child care,
yes.
Right? Mobility becomes a really big issue. Flexibility, a really big issue. You know, we can talk about what we want to happen, but we also have to really fix some of these things that allow women to thrive and bring their best selves to the table. Like all of these factors come into play.
Definitely. Maybe even it starts a little bit earlier, right? About how do we educate girls in school and about through the educational system so that they actually see themselves playing these kind of roles and be bold enough and see that these are the career opportunities. This is a space where we have these regulations by the state, or we have the opportunities by the companies to actually have it all in this kind of sense and not drop out at a certain maturity level than once you came into the organization, but then maybe you arrived at the middle management.
Yeah, and, and I was thinking, about Arianna Huffington said this, and I've been thinking about it a lot. We always do exit interviews, but everyone's always gone.
Right,
so
that's right.
So she said we should do entry-level interviews. And then I started thinking, why don't we do life stage accommodation? If we could, as companies, corporations, across the board, accommodate our employees, our greatest asset, our most valuable asset, along their life journey, and just be able to accommodate all of this, we would have the best talent, we would have a happy workforce, yes. Right? And they would stay for a very long time.
And it's very, very forward-thinking, very big vision thinking, truly. But it comes down to the basics. And so when you take something that seems so simple, like bringing compassion into the enterprise, bringing leadership through shift training, shift working, not having to work 8 to 5, but accommodating your own schedule, exactly what you're saying. What are we seeing in terms of enterprises that are doing this right? We know that women, the number 2 reason why women will take a job now, number 2 after salary, is continuing education. Which, do you think the light bulbs have gone on for companies? Because I know Shelley in the female quotient here at WEF, you've got every major corporation is in your hub. And ladies, you work with these major corporations in a consulting capacity. So are they getting it?
I learned something new yesterday, which might not seem like new to you, but it was new to me, and I loved it. I learned about upskilling, which I heard about, but then I heard about acknowledging. And I thought that was so amazing because, what has been done in the past for the past 100 years, it's not wrong. It was right then, but what is right now? And a lot of it is awareness of the issues. We all know the facts. We all know that diversity is good for business. It's good for innovation. It's good for bottom line. It's good for culture. It's good for all of, we know all of these things. Right. And yet we continue to go backwards. So we have the awareness. We now have the education. We're moving into the action in order to lead to the impact. And so I loved the concept of acknowledging. Mm-hmm. It's what do we need to do? And sometimes it's just not that complicated. There's some very simple steps. But when you look at the biases, and we all know about all kinds of biases, it's kind of basic. You have a man and you have a woman, equally qualified. The woman's going to have a baby. Is this unconscious bias? You can't replace her for 3 months because, so you have a hole. Mm-hmm. She's not going to be able to travel as much anymore. She's going to have to go home to take care of her kids at a certain time, and she'll be running off to PTA or taking care of her snotty-nosed kids when they're sick. Right. I'll take him, right? Like, hello, not complicated. And so when you look at these biases, we have to say, well, to counterbalance that, we need the best talent. Well, we're looking for an empathetic, collaborative, passionate, visionary, nurturing leader that can also deliver a great bottom line. I'll take her. And so if we start putting into place parental leave policies, mm-hmm. not elective, but at least the maternity bias mm-hmm. will go away, because you won't be able to look at the woman or the man anymore and say, well, they're going to leave for 3 months if they both have to. Not as a negative, as a positive. So I think acknowledging is a really cool idea.
Well, I love the idea of acknowledging because it actually is one layer below something you've been talking about all week, and that is purpose, which has been a big conversation here at WEF and touches all of the SDGs in general. So would you like to talk a little bit about purpose? Because I'm fascinated with how you've been delivering it this week. And then I would love Chris and Tatiana to tell us why the name of your company is Leaders on Purpose and what you're doing to shift that paradigm.
Yeah, I don't think purpose is in a textbook. I don't think you can make this up, and I don't think you can read it and get it. I don't think it's cognizant. I think it's in the heart. I always say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable. So this week has just been purpose, passion, growth driven, and I think that's why we have so much heart in our lounge. People are just bringing truth to the table and talking about things that might be uncomfortable. We have this safe space, unplugged conversations where people tell it like it is, and then we say, okay, we can't keep admiring the problems. We need to activate solutions for change, and we need to figure out how we're going to create measurement for accountability, because if we keep going at the pace we're going, we've all seen the WEF numbers. It'll take 257 years to close the economic gender parity. I mean, those are facts. And you talked about factivism. Yeah. Well, let's talk about purpose vision or whatever the word is. Yes. Because if we're purposivism, or let's make up something new here, then we will not accept that, because that's just so silly. I mean, we're going to wait and watch? Nothing will happen by waiting and watching. Yeah. We have to close the door and open a new one. And the new door that we're going to open needs to be purpose and passion driven.
So if the purpose is kind of the root and then the passion is what ignites it. Chris, when you named your company, what was that aha moment there?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think, we feel that purpose is really, real purpose is not the sort of, we're doing good sort of greenwashing purpose, but real purpose is fundamental to reimagining capitalism, is what we believe. We believe that when we're seeing companies that are making this transition, when they're deeply purposeful, they're looking, they're aware, they're taking the steps to become very aware of what they're doing. They measure their impacts. And when they start to make just even some small changes, like to your point, having a woman and a man qualified for the job, making sure that they have a woman and a man qualified. They won't even look at filling a position until they have an equal number of candidates from both sexes represented. So,
and not just both sexes represented, but also the hiring team needs to be diverse too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's one of the things we do. Step one, let's fill the pipeline with diversity. But then if we don't have diversity in the hiring team, you're not going to end up with diversity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of these things are fundamental to, getting to where we need to go, and that's really what we're focused on doing. So is helping make that transition happen. So
Fantastic. Well, I think we're out of time. I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
Part two.
There has to be
such
a
a
part
good
2, 3, 4,
conversation.
etc. It's a continued conversation. I admire all three of you for the amazing work you're doing, and how you are igniting change.
And you inspire all of us
Yes,
to be
you
better.
do.
It's
Yes.
a privilege to be here with Facebook today. Thank you so much, and on with it.
Thank you.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was great.